What is up guys, welcome back to the channel. In the last few stock comparison videos we have been looking for opportunities in the financial services sector, so we already did banks diversified with Bank of America, Wells Fargo and Citigroup. And this week we already took capital markets with Morgan Stanley, Charles Schwab and Goldman Sachs. So today I wanted to take a look into the banks regional, and the picks are US Bancorp, ticker symbol USB, PNC Financial Services, PNC, and Truist Financial Corporation, ticker TFC. In order to make the comparison possible, we will be looking into 8 different factors: Analysts' price targets, price-to-book ratio, annual revenue growth, price-to-sales ratio, return on equity, last 4 quarterly earnings results, cash per share, and the dividend yield. The best company under each factor will get a point, so it is possible to have from 0 to 8 points. And in the end, the stock with the most points will be considered the winner of this comparison. I hope that the rules are clear, so let's begin. First factor are the analysts' price targets. As investors, we want to check how far the current share price is away from the average target of analysts. If the current price is under the average target, we will consider the stock as undervalued, and in the end, a company with share price is furthest away from the average target to the lower side gets a point for this factor. For US Bancorp, we have 20 price targets of analysts. They range from the lows of $55 to the highs of $69 per share. The average is at $62.09, and the current share price is at $60.65. This means that there is around 2.4% room for the current price to reach the average target of analysts. For PNC, we have 18 price targets of analysts. They range from the lows of $169 to the highs of $232 per share. The average is at $195.59. And the current share price is at $193.11. So there is around 1.3% room for the current price to reach the average target of analysts. For TFC, we have 19 price targets of analysts. They range from the lows of $57 to the highs of $74 per share. The average is at $65.21, and the current share price is at $61.31. This means that there is around 6.4% room for the current price to reach the average target of analysts. Results for the analysts' price targets factor are in the table, and with the most room for growth, Truist gets the first point. Second factor is the price-to-book ratio. It is calculated by taking the current share price and dividing it by the book value per share. The formula suggests to be looking for a company with a low market cap and a high book value. So in the end, the stock with the lowest price-to-book ratio gets a point for this factor. For US Bancorp, the price-to-book is at 1.99. Price-to-book for PNC is at 1.63. And for TFC, the price-to-book is currently not available. Price-to-book ratios are in the table, and with the lowest value, PNC gets the first point. Third factor is the annual revenue growth. As investors, we want to find that the revenues of a company are on a steady increase. We will take a look into the results of the 4 most recent years and compare them one by one. If revenue was on the increase from one year to the next, we will consider it as a +1, and if it was on the decrease, it will be a +0. Then we sum the results up to a minimum of 0 and a maximum of 3, and in the end, the stock with the highest sum gets a point for this factor. Annual revenues for US Bancorp, and going into 2018 there was an increase to $20.8 billion US. Then into 2019 we again had an increase to $21.1 billion, and going into 2020 there was a decrease to $19.2 billion US. So with 2 increases and 1 decrease in annual revenues, we have a sum of 2. Revenues for PNC, and going into 2018 there was a decrease to $15.78 billion US. Then going into 2019 we had an increase to $16.1 billion, and going into 2020 there was another decrease to $13.7 billion. So with 1 increase and 2 decreases in annual revenues, we have a sum of 1. Annual revenues for TFC, and going into 2018 there was an increase to $10.99 billion US. Then into 2019 we had an increase to $11.95 billion, and going into 2020 there was another increase to $20.37 billion. So with 3 increases in annual revenues, we have a sum of 3. Results for the annual revenue growth factor are in the table, and with a sum of 3, TFC gets another point. Fourth factor is the price-to-sales ratio. It is calculated by taking the company's market cap and dividing it by the trailing 12 months worth of sales. The formula suggests to be looking for a company with a low market cap and a high result in sales. So in the end, the stock with the lowest price-to-sales ratio gets a point for this factor. For US Bancorp, the price-to-sales is at 4.35. Price to sales for PNC is at 5.44. and Truist has a price to sales at 3.91. Price to sales ratios are in the table, and with the lowest value, TFC gets another point. Fifth factor is return on equity. It is calculated by taking the net income and dividing it by the shareholders' equity. A high ROE shows that the company is well managed and that money from investors are efficiently handled. So in the end, the stock with the highest return on equity percentage gets a point for this factor. For US Bancorp, the return on equity is at 11.66%. Return on equity for PNC is at 7.89%. And TFC has a return on equity of 7.32%. Return on equity percentages are in the table, and with the highest value, US Bancorp gets the first point. Sixth factor are the last 4 quarterly earnings results. When a company reports earnings, they are compared to expectations of analysts. So earnings can either beat expectations, meet them, or miss them. We will consider that beating expectations is a +1, meeting +0.5, and missing 0. Then we sum the results up to a minimum of 0 and a maximum of 4, and in the end, the stock with the highest sum gets a point for this factor. We have quarterly earnings for US Bancorp, and Q2 of 2020 beat expectations, Q3 beat, Q4 met expectations, and Q1 of 2021 beat. So with 3 beats and 1 meet in quarterly earnings, we have a sum of 3.5. Quarterly earnings for PNC and Q2 of 2020 beat expectations, Q3 beat, Q4 beat expectations, and Q1 of 2021 beat. So with 4 beats in earnings, we have a sum of 4. Quarterly earnings for TFC and Q2 of 2020 beat expectations, Q3 beat, Q4 beat expectations, and Q1 of 2021 beat. So with 4 beats in quarterly earnings, we have a sum of 4. Results for the last 4 quarterly earnings factor are in the table, and with sums of 4, both PNC and TFC each gets a point. Seventh factor is the cash per share ratio. It is calculated by taking total cash and dividing by the number of shares outstanding. The ratio suggests how much the company is able to reinvest and expand, or otherwise their ability to buy back shares and pay dividends. So in the end, the stock with the highest cash per share ratio gets a point for this factor. For US Bancorp, the cash per share is at 31.19. Cash per share for PNC is at 28.11. And TFC has a cash per share at 30.86. Cash per share ratios are in the table, and with the highest value, US Bancorp gets another point. The last factor is the dividend yield. It is calculated by taking the annual dividend per share and dividing it by the share price. A high dividend yield may suggest that profits are being shared with shareholders, and that is a great passive income source that we as investors are looking for. So in the end, the company with the highest dividend yield percentage gets a point for this factor. US Bancorp is currently paying an annual dividend of $1.68 per share, which is a yield of 2.81%. The annual dividend for PNC is $4.60 per share, which is a yield of 2.4%. And TFC is paying an annual dividend of $1.80 per share, which is a yield of exactly 3%. Dividend yields are in the table, and with the highest percentage, Truist gets 1 more point. We can calculate the results, so US Bancorp has 2 points, PNC 2, and TFC 5 points. This means that with a sum of 5, Truist is considered the winner of this comparison. And that was it. If you got value or new ideas, then make sure to push that thumbs up. It helps the channel a lot. Now there's a question for you. Do you think now is the time to be buying into financial stocks? Share your thoughts and picks in a comment below. If you are interested to know exactly when I buy or sell in a stock, then consider the options on Patreon. We already have comparisons on other large banks, which are Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Citigroup, Morgan Stanley, Charles Schwab, and Goldman Sachs. If you are interested in any of these, then click on the video currently on the screen. And that was it from my side. Thank you for watching, and I will be seeing you all in the next one.